both the northeast and the southeast states. So eyes up here on the map. We will be reading on page 142, but if you have not found it by now, I want you to stop turning in your books. Do you hear me? And get your eyes up here. All right.
Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts.
All right, very good. Now let's do the southeast region.
West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida.
Very good. Now on page 142, for those of you that haven't quite gotten there, please read page 142. We read the top half of that page. We need to start at the bottom where it says becoming a leader. God had allowed the Americans to defeat the English. Now it was time to choose a leader for their new country. John Adams' name was put on the ballot in the first election for the President of the United States. At this time, the two men with the highest votes were chosen no matter if they had the same political beliefs or not. George Washington was voted as president, and John Adams, who received the second largest number of votes, became the first vice president of the United States. Vice President Adams and his family moved to New York City, which served as the first capital of the United States. The capital later moved to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for 10 years until the current capital, Washington, D.C., was built. All right, so what are the three cities that were capitals? New York City, that was the first. Then Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and currently it is still today, Washington, D.C. John Adams was later elected the second president of the United States. Thomas Jefferson was elected as his vice president. They did not agree about what the country should do, but they did their best to work together and help the new country grow. During his term in office, the president's mansion, now called the White House, was finished. John Adams and his family were the first people to live there. He wrote a letter saying, I pray heaven to bestow the best of blessings on this house and on all that should hereafter inhabit it. May none but honest and wise men ever rule under this roof. Yeah, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Mr. Adams lost the next election and moved back home to his farm. He enjoyed writing about many different topics for the rest of his life. He and his friend Thomas Jefferson wrote hundreds of letters to each other that kept their friendship close. Mr. Adams was happy to hear that his son John Quincy had found his place in the political world. John Quincy Adams later became the sixth president of the United States. Mr. Adams wanted to live to see the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and he did. On the afternoon of July 4th, 1826, exactly 50 years after it was signed, John Adams died. His friend, Thomas Jefferson, the writer of this important document, died on the very same day. Isn't that interesting? They both died on the same day, and they both died on the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. All right. The blank was John Adams' most important trial as a lawyer.
British.
Kate, there is not a word bank. What was John Adams' most important trial? We read about this last week. I don't even think it was on Friday. I think it was on Thursday. But it might have been Friday. Okay, then you guys better get busy looking for it. As a lawyer, what was his most important trial? Did you really look it up? Or are you gonna make another guess?
I think I know it.
What?
It was making informed decisions.
No, it has a name. It has a name. His most important trial.
Boston Massacre?
Yes, it was called the Boston British opened fire on a crowd of people who were saying things about the British soldiers, and one of them thought they heard the order to fire, so they just started shooting at the innocent people in the crowd. All because they were just saying stuff about the soldiers. So it was called the Boston Massacre. So lots of people were killed that day. Alright, the unfair English law that made colonists pay a tax on legal papers was named the what?
Stamp Act.
Stamp Act. Let's read it again though. It was called the Stamp Act. John Adams was one of the delegates who attended the, what was the name of the first meeting that he, actually it starts with the word first. Yes.
Constitutional Convention.
Not constitutional, continental, there's one more word, the first continental
Congress.
Congress, very good, everybody say that, so what was the,
Continental.
he was delegate for one of the first Continental Congress. Mr. Adams believed that government should have 3 separate parts. What are those 3 parts? Name one of them. Say it again. Judicial. Alright, she started at the bottom. That's why I couldn't understand it, because I thought she was gonna start with the top one. Yes, she's saying the last one, judicial. Legislative and page. Executive. Legislative, executive, and judicial.
Branch.
Alright, so which branch is responsible for making laws?
Legislative.
Legislative. Which branch enforces the law?
Judicial.
No.
Executive.
Executive. Enforces starts with an E. Executive starts with E. That was a hint I gave you on Friday. Enforces, executive. Alright, and which one interprets the law? I skipped that one by accident. Which one interprets the law? Judicial, because the judges are who interpret the law, so that's where the J comes from. Judges interpret the law, so J, judicial. That one doesn't say judges interpret the law, does it? It just says interprets the law, not judges interpret the law. There are 9 members of the what? 9 members of the
Senate.
not the Senate. This has to do with the judicial branch. These are all judges. So they are part of the,
Declaration of Independence.
do know that the Declaration of Independence is a paper, so it can't have members, right? Declaration of Independence is the paper that was written to tell the world that we wanted our freedom from England. So how could it have members? 9 members? Zeke,
The Treaty of Paris? That was 56.
that also is a paper telling that the war was ended.
Stamp Act?
That also is a, hey, you guys need to get busy looking at the legislative, executive, and judicial part of the book so that you can find out what has 9 members.
The Supreme Court.
Yes, the Supreme Court has 9 members, 9 judges. John Adams was one of the signers of the blank, which brought an end to the Revolutionary War.
The Declaration of Independence?
Brought an end to the war?
Wait, Treaty of Paris.
Yes, the Treaty of Paris. President John Adams and his family were the first to live in the President's Mansion, which is now called what?
The White House.
The White House. Very good. Notice tomorrow, when we start reading, we're reading about a lady, Dolly Madison. All right.
White House.
You may go ahead and put that away.